Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 3417. Today's date is 16th of May 2025. It's been almost like a morning at 7:43 a.m. Um, we directly jump into the question. All right, yeah, let's go. Okay, question is, can invention be truly original if it is influenced by nature design? Okay, it's this question is bit something difficult. Yeah, probably. I think that I don't have kind of like some proper answer, but I'm trying to give the answer, but I'm not really sure. Okay, first of all, where is this question came from? A couple of weeks ago, I was actually watching the Demons of Leonardo. It's a web series based on Leonardo da Vinci. If you don't really know who is the Leonardo da Vinci, the same person who draw the world famous Mona Lisa painting, he is not just a painter, he is a master of multiple things. While I was watching his show, I was really influenced by the Leonardo's thought process. The way that he think, the way that he do was really incredible. I wanted to think like him. So I went to ChatGPT and asked that he suggest me such a question so that I would think like Leonardo da Vinci. And this is one of those questions. Question says, can invention be truly original if it is influenced by nature design? Okay, what exactly is this question? Okay, first of all. Okay, so it the question says that like whatever the invention that we do to make us life better, is that invention is a truly invention or not? What do you mean by that? Okay, yeah, like okay, yeah, like first of all, how do we invent some sort of thing? Example, let's take a mobile phone. Okay, you have this mobile phone, it's an invention, right? Yeah. So is this truly invention? Like what's a truly invention? A truly invention means like that na ki like whatever you are invented, okay, yeah, this invention is not only serve for only one species, it should supposed to be serve his existence for entire ecosystem. That is called true invention. Do you get it? Okay. Okay, you still not get it now. Okay, let me tell you one thing. Okay, I'm trying to compare the nature invention and the human invention. Okay, yeah. uh nature is also invent some sort of things too. Okay, yeah, we called mutation, or mutation is actually happened. Okay, so what exactly is this thing? Okay, so let's say simple example. Okay, yeah, we have a tree. Okay, uh tree can produce his food by itself. Okay, how? Because of the photosynthesis, because of the sunlight is actually add on leaves and stuff like that. The in photosynthesis is a process. In that particular process, it combine the carbon dioxide and sunlight and the moisture in the soil and create the food by itself, for others too. Okay, yeah. Then that tree will kind of like a something, um, that tree is kind of like a something used for other animal too. Means like that tree has a, some sort of apples or fruit or anything. That fruit can be eaten by human. It can That fruit can be eaten by the human, which is kind of like a survival for human. As also the leaves and everything, the animal could eat that leaves, which is also kind of like a somebody had a food for themselves, because humans and animal can't make food by its own. Okay, yeah, we rely on birds, we rely on trees and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. And this is kind of like a somebody food cycle is actually happen. Okay, yeah, the trees are create the photosynthesis process. Sorry, like a trees have photosynthesis process. Because of this photosynthesis, it can make food for itself and as also for other species too, and so that other species will not gonna kind of like somebody starve to death. No, they will get the food from the trees. So the invention of kind of like a some photosynthesis is a truly invented, because it is not only serve only one species. No, it serve multiple species, so that they would survive on this planet. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like somebody called as a original invention. Okay, yeah. Means like that invention is kind of like utilized by use for multiple purpose, so that every species could kind of like survive and stuff like that. Okay, this is called truly invention. Now let's compare to the human invention. We have this mobile phone. Okay, yeah. We use this mobile phone for ourselves, right? We can call, we can do anything that we could do. Yeah. This mobile phone is really harmful for other species too. Example, the signal that mobile phone gets, which is kind of like a something disturb for birds, the pigeon, the bees and everything. Their navigation system is bitterly disturbed because of our 5G connection, 4G connection of mobile phones. Okay, yeah. So that's why most of the metro city you haven't really seen any kind of like a some birds or bees or any kind of like a flying insect, because of that key, because of this radiation, they are like their navigation is bitterly disturbed. Okay, yeah. But if you went to the jungle, we could found so many birds, so many stuff. Is because of that key nature is kind of like a something doesn't really have that radiation, the mobile radiation. Okay, yeah. So the basically the human invention is for the human. It served the purpose for the human, and because of this thing, it is kind of like a something that key. It not only helping other species, but as also it kind of like a something stopping them or not evolving them, or kind of like a something had a resistance of their survival. Okay, like this mobile phone is a kind of like a simply only one. So basically your mobile phone is not truly invented. Yeah, means like that it is not actually serving purpose, like it is only serving purpose for only human being, and it is kind of like a little bit disadvantage for other things. Okay, it is not kind of like a serve the purpose in um e- ecology, yeah, eco something like that, in something in our planet. No, it's not. Okay, yeah. So how do we like is there any kind of like a something human invention is kind of like a called as a original invention? There are some sort of human things are invented. Okay, yeah. Which is kind of like a somewhat kind of like a something, I think that ki this invention called as a truly invention, because it not only serve for human being but as also nature too. What is that? Agriculture. Yeah. Agriculture is a kind of like a thing that ki humans are kind of like a putting the plants or putting the seeds on the soil, and after a couple of months it became plants, it create food, which is not only kind of like a something help for human to get the food from themselves, but as also the farming land, the agriculture, it kind of like a some help to the other species. Okay, they find some sort of shelter, they get some sort of food too. So which is somewhat kind of like a somebody the invention, like this agriculture invention is a kind of like a somebody human invention. Yeah, probably I'm gonna say, which is called as a kind of like a somebody truly invented. Okay, yeah. Then also another thing too. Then okay, like I'm not really sure is it truly invented, but okay, yeah. What is that? Um, Probably the plane. Okay, yeah. The plane that we have, Airbus A380 or Boeing 747 or fighter plane or any plane, yeah. These are plane are heavily influenced by our birds. Okay, yeah. And basically is this thing, the plane is serving purpose for human, that is true. Okay, yeah. But how does it kind of like a serve the purpose for our like ecology, how it actually serve the purpose for his nature? um I don't know that. I don't know why. I think that na ki, like basically if we wanted to fly, we need a kind of like a some particular design which is somewhat influenced by the birds, because birds are kind of like a flying on our atmosphere for millions of years. So probably having this bird design is kind of like a somewhat influence for our flying. So I think that the bird invention is a kind of like a something truly invention, I think. I'm not really sure, but I think that. Okay, yeah. But most of our invention is not kind of like a something original invention. Okay, yeah. It is not. Uh, but there is a some certain invention that I wanted to talk, which is kind of like a something like that ki something like that ki something like that ki truly invention, but I'm not really sure is that. What are those? Okay, so International Space Station. Okay, ISS. Okay. International Space Station is a kind of like a something invention. I think it's a truly invented. Okay, yeah. Because how does it kind of like serve the purpose to the human being? It is serve the purpose for the human being, yes, definitely. But how does it serve the purpose to the another species or nature? um I don't know. I don't know. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that the ISS is kind of like a something perform his action outside the earth. Okay, yeah. So I think that whatever we invented, like ISS is kind of like a something invention. It's for the space, to understand the space, to find it much better, much I don't know, yeah. So I think that in ISS is a kind of like a something invention which is truly invented. Probably I am kind of like a somebody had a question to my statement. I am not really sure about the truly invention, what is at least this thing. Okay, yeah. Because I kind of like simply realized that regarding about the invention, uh, nature is also upgrade their invention as well as humans do. Okay, yeah. How? um like let's say human. Okay, yeah, like millions of year ago we are kind of like a something animal, we are monkeys. Okay, yeah. Then we are started walking on our leg. Okay, yeah. And because of this thing, the changes actually happen, mutation changes actually happen. Okay, yeah. We are kind of like utilizing our hand more and more to the complex task. Okay, yeah. The legs are kind of like utilized for kind of like a something strong kind of like a muscles to stand. Okay, yeah, on a two leg. Okay, yeah. And basically is this thing, we don't really have any kind of like a something very muscular body as compared to the animals, so that we are kind of like utilizing our brain to survival and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing, the nature is kind of like a something had a mutation in our human for kind of like a something so long that it kind of like a something like that like, okay, I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. Okay, let's just imagine that nature is a kind of like a something a creator. Okay, yeah. And at the beginning, nature didn't really know what is exactly the human, or how do we supposed to create the human, or kind of like some intelligent species. Okay, yeah. So monkeys are kind of like a something rough sketch. Okay, like basically we do kind of like a something invention na, so we do kind of like a something rough sketch. Okay, yeah. And when we have a rough sketch, we are kind of like add tiny things to make it that design is as better as we can, as improved as we can. Okay, yeah. Same thing happened with the nature. Nature is kind of like a somebody had a kind of like a rough design, add some sort of mutation or kind of like a thing that design should supposed to be look perfect, means like human design. So yeah, so this is what kind of like some human that we are right now. So I think that, and I think that this is what kind of like a some nature kind of like a create some certain thing like this way. Okay, yeah. As well as a human do the same thing too, like basically the aeroplane that we could see on today, it's not kind of like a something happened just couple of months or year, no. Like basically Wright brother is a kind of like a influenced by birds, okay, and they made a kind of like a assembly plane, okay, yeah. Early plane is kind of like a look very different than today's, okay, yeah. Is because of that little changes is actually happened, and because of this thing right now we could see the plane which is kind of like a something the upgradation version of Wright brothers design and stuff like that. Same thing happened with the natures too, okay. Whatever the nature design regarding about the humans, regarding about every species and everything, they are kind of like a meant to be designed, add some sort of mutation to kind of like a not only for survive but as also being kind of like a something the best utilized for themselves and as also for their survival and stuff like that, I think. Okay, I am not really sure, okay, because I think now this question is kind of like a little bit something complex, um but yeah, I don't know, yeah. It's kind of like a truly design something that na ki it's something really fucking my mind. Okay, somewhat somewhere. Okay, um, okay. So there is a one invention that I think that this human invention is kind of like a something original, truly invention. What are those? Okay, dam. Okay, have you seen a dam? Okay, dam is a kind of like a somebody serve a particular purpose, okay, yeah. It kind of like a control the flow of river, control the flow of river, okay. How? Dam is kind of like a something holding millions of gallons of water in itself, okay, yeah. Why? Is because of that ki if the dam, like if we didn't really build any kind of like a dam or anything like that, okay, yeah, the water will flows from higher to lower, okay, yeah. And if this will gonna happen, then probably is this thing na ki water is a kind of like something very essential for life, all right, yeah. So if the water is actually constantly flowing from top to bottom, then probably is this thing na ki the other side of thing that, okay, how do I supposed to explain, okay, okay. Imagine a dam, okay, yeah, which has kind of like a only store the so massive amount of water is actually stored in itself, okay, yeah. Look at the surrounding area around that lake, okay, around that water. It's kind of like a somebody lush green, okay, yeah. It is not only that dam is not only serve the purpose for kind of like a simply building the electricity, because we are built like a dam is a kind of like a build for electricity. How? Okay, okay, let me tell you one thing, what is actually dam function and everything, okay. So what is actually dam is a kind of like a holding the water, okay, yeah. And it is kind of like a releasing water for like a basically variable speed, okay, yeah. How? Why? Okay, yeah. Dam is kind of like a we build the dam for generation of electricity. How? Is because of that ki like a dam, as I mentioned, dam is a kind of like a something holds so much amount of water, okay, at one place, okay. So when you hold so much amount of water at one place, it create pressure on that particular dam, okay, yeah. Dam utilize that pressure to kind of like a something rotate the turbine. How? Like basically in the dam has a kind of like a only small tubes, okay, yeah. In that particular tubes, water can flows from that tube, okay, yeah. Because of the pressure, because the dam is kind of like a something handling millions of gallons of water, so basically it has some sort of pressure, and that pressure kind of like a something goes with a discharge of flow, means like that water can flow very rapidly from very narrow tube, okay, yeah. and when it flow from like a very fast, it has that tube has a kind of like a turbine. Okay, yeah. What's a turbine? Turbine is a kind of like simply a propeller. Okay, yeah. So basically when the water flows from that propeller rotate. Okay, yeah. When that propeller rotate, the rotation motion convert into the electric motion because it connected into generator and stuff like that. It generate electricity. The rotation of the motor we generate the electricity. Okay, yeah. So because this dam is work like most of the dam has kind of like only same functionality like this. Okay, most of the dam is kind of like a meant for kind of like a generating the electricity. Okay, yeah. Now when the dam is kind of like a stored millions of gallons of water. Okay, yeah. You found you just kind of like a look that the entire lake, the water is actually stored in that particular area. The entire lake or outside basically besides the lake and everything is kind of like a simply creates its ecosystem. Okay, how how creates its ecosystem. That ecosystem is kind of like a serve the purpose for trees so that they would kind of like a get some water, lush green. Okay, yeah. As well as this water is kind of like a something really essential for wild animal. Okay, because they also kind of like a something survive on water too. Okay, yeah. Another thing is that the entire ecosystem is actually create around this dam. Okay, yeah. Means like that ki usually water is actually flow and it will not gonna store for long time. So probably is this thing na ki storing water is kind of like a something very hard. But because of the dam water is actually stored, so it's because of this thing the water can get for rest of the year. Because in earth we have season, summer, winter, everything. Okay, yeah. And when the season happen, the limitation of the water is also happened. Okay, yeah. But because of the dam is actually stored millions of gallons of water, it kind of like something serve the purpose for human being for electricity generation, but as well as the storing the water in that particular area is helping for the nature to build kind of like a lush green, to build kind of like a food for the birds and animals and everything. Okay, yeah. Which is also really good, but also there is like a when you say there is a action comes with also consequences too. Okay, what are those? Okay. um Flowing water is a kind of like a something very pure form of water. Okay, yeah. When the water is actually stored at one place na, it adds some sort of bacterias. Okay, yeah. Because as I mentioned, water is a kind of like a something moisture. Okay, it holds the moisture, and when it holds the moisture it kind of like a something creating life in itself. Okay, I means like that, like you actually seen this thing basically when the water is actually kind of like a stored at particular lake, that the upper layer of the lake is a kind of like a something little bit mud, a little bit kind of like a something yeah, it is not really good. The stable water is not really good for the drinking. Yeah, that is really good. That is really okay, yeah. But the stable water is kind of like a something help to kind of like a something that ki, growing bacteria or stuff like that, those bacteria or algae or kind of like a microorganism, which is also really essential for nature, building nature probably. Okay, yeah. I don't know which because of this thing now these are kind of like a microorganism is also kind of like a something generate because of storing of the all those waters, and those are microorganism are kind of like a something serve the purpose in this ecosystem. Because of this thing these microorganism is kind of like a became the food for another species, and that species also became another food for another species. So this kind of like a cycle is created. Okay, yeah. And I think that the dam is a kind of like a something truly invented thing. Okay, yeah. Because it is not only serve for purpose for human, but as also it serve purpose for nature too. Okay, in somewhat probably. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing now, as I mentioned, every action comes with the consequences, even if good or bad it is. Okay, yeah. Because if you hold so much amount of water in your particular area, it might be kind of like a some chances of floods or things like that, which is kind of like a destroy the ecosystem. But as well as having stored water, it means that ki you have water for rest of the year, you don't really worry about anything at all. Okay, yeah. And everything, dude, it is like it is lot of thing. Okay, yeah. If I try to compare without dam, then probably is this thing na ki the ecosystem will not gonna develop that much. Okay, yeah. But still it is really good. I don't know, yeah. Like basically is this thing na ki I think that I am not kind of like a something a capable person to understand this question to give the proper answer regarding about this thing. But still it is something really good. So understand the nature and action of things and stuff like that. Oh yeah. But still every invention that human does it, yeah, it kind of like a serve the purpose for human, yes. But some of the invention are kind of like a something serve the purpose for nature too. Okay, yeah. And we have to create a, such a invention for not only serve for human but as well serve for its function for nature in itself, I think. All right, this is it. This is it. I should supposed to be end here. And thank you.